When your home is right on the front lines of climate change, you've really only got two choices. You can react to crises as they happen, or you can start proactively building for the future you know is coming. Today, we're diving into the island nation of Vanuatu and its incredible blueprint for resilience. Let's see how they're turning plans into action.
First things first, let's just set the stage here. For the people of Vanuatu, climate change isn't some distant threat you see on a chart. No, it's a daily reality. It shapes literally every aspect of life, from the economy to the very ground they stand on.
You've got these powerful tropical cyclones, which are a recurring and just devastating hazard. These aren't just storms. They are extreme weather events that leave a massive trail of destruction, damaging critical infrastructure, wiping out crops, and just turning lives upside down. And it's not just the wind. Extreme rainfall is another huge vulnerability. I mean, look at this. This is Bowerfield International Airport, the country's main gateway to the world, completely inundated by floodwaters. When your most essential services are this exposed, you just can't afford to wait for the next disaster to hit.
So, facing these enormous challenges, Vanuatu is shifting its whole approach. This isn't just about recovery anymore. It's about preparation. It's about creating a blueprint to build a more resilient nation, right from the ground up.
And that's the big question, isn't it? What if you could use science, data, and local knowledge to actually anticipate the impacts and make smarter decisions before a crisis hits? This massive shift from being reactive to proactive is exactly what Vanuatu's new blueprint is all about.
Okay, so the key tool in all of this is something called a climate hazard-based impact assessment. Now I know that sounds super technical, right? But just think of it like a structured recipe. It's a clear process for taking all this complex climate information and turning it into something you can actually use, actionable intelligence.
And here is the roadmap itself. It's this 8-step guide that moves so logically, from understanding the situation and talking to the right people, to digging into historical data and then modeling future scenarios. From there, you assess the impacts, plan real adaptation strategies, and finally share what you've learned. It's a really comprehensive framework, and now we're going to see how it actually works in the real world.
To make this all feel a bit more real, let's follow the story of one of Vanuatu's most valuable crops, cocoa. It is the perfect case study to see how this 8-step process goes from being just a theory on paper to something that makes a real difference on the ground.
So first up, step 1, understand the context. For cocoa, this means figuring out the climate factors that matter most. And it turns out, pretty much everything boils down to just two key things: temperature and rainfall.
Then you get to step 2, which is all about bringing the right people to the table. And this isn't just about scientists in a lab. It means getting out there and meeting with the real experts. The farmers and the producers who have generations of knowledge about the land and the crop. Step 3 gives you that hard, data-driven baseline. You dig into the historical climate data to define the absolute sweet spot for cocoa. And we find out that a temperature range of 22 to 31 degrees Celsius and a specific amount of rainfall, that's what makes this crop thrive.
Okay, so with that historical baseline set, step 4 is where things get really interesting. This is the point where the whole process stops looking at the past and starts systematically modeling the future.
And here's the clever part. You don't just plan for one future. The process uses different global emissions scenarios to model a whole range of possibilities. Everything from a best-case, low-emissions world to a worst-case, high-emissions one. This lets planners prepare for multiple potential outcomes. To make this easier to understand, planners use a tool called a storyline matrix, like this one. It helps map out all those plausible futures. It basically turns abstract data into clear scenarios that you can wrap your head around, like a warmer future versus a hotter and much, much wetter one. So in step 5, you take that cocoa sweet spot from step 3, and you combine it with the future scenarios from step 4, and the analysis reveals something pretty fascinating. Climate change doesn't hit everywhere the same. Some of the traditional cocoa growing areas might become less viable, but entirely new areas could actually open up. And all this analysis leads directly to the action phase. Step 7 is all about planning, adaptation. So the data doesn't just identify a problem, it actually points to concrete solutions. Farmers can now strategically plan to move into new, more suitable areas, or diversify with heat-tolerant varieties, or even just plant shade trees to help manage rising temperatures.
So, we've zoomed way in on cocoa,
But the real power of this framework is that it's not just for cocoa. Let's zoom back out now and see how this amazing tool is building resilience across the entire nation.
Just take a look at this table. The exact same 8-step process is being applied to every single critical sector. For infrastructure, it's analyzing rainfall on airports. For tourism, it's helping inform cyclone-resistant bungalow design. For fisheries, it's predicting the impact of marine heat waves on coral reefs. It's a truly universal blueprint.
Ultimately, this is so much more than just a series of reports. It's about fundamentally changing how a nation confronts a really uncertain future by arming its people with the tools they need to plan for a new reality. Because at its heart, this is a framework for empowerment. It gives communities, farmers, and policymakers the knowledge and the confidence they need to actually take control of their own future.
And the process is so powerful because it honors all kinds of wisdom. It's what you'd call a true co-production, where cutting-edge climate science works hand in hand with that invaluable local and traditional knowledge that has sustained these communities for centuries.
Vanuatu's experience really brings up a critical question that applies to all of us. What does it truly take to plan for a future that is, by its very nature, so uncertain?
Well, as Vanuatu is showing the world, it takes a whole lot more than hope. It takes a willingness to merge scientific data with lived experience, to value the farmer just as much as the forecaster. It takes collaboration, and maybe most of all, as we see in this cyclone-resilient bungalow, it takes the collective will to stop just reacting and start building with a clear blueprint for the world that is coming.